Bob backed away, trying to keep the uninvited guest in his line of sight. "Listen, buddy," he said, attempting to stay calm. "I don't know who you are, but I'm definitely not a threat to anyone. I'm just a farmer, milking cows and stuff like that." The alien gave him a cold stare and then tilted his head slightly. "Your recent actions have attracted too much attention," he said, lowering his weapon. "And that makes you a target." "A target?" Bob felt cold sweat trickle down his back. "A target for who?" The alien paused before calmly responding. "For the Shadow Council." "The Shadow what?" Bob raised his eyebrows. "That sounds like something out of a cheap sci-fi movie. Your jokes won't help, Earthling," the uninvited guest said sternly. "The Shadow Council is a group of powerful beings who see your planet as a strategic asset. They've been watching Earth for a long time and are now concerned that Glurb has openly started collaborating with you." "And what are they planning to do?" Bob muttered, swallowing nervously. The alien stepped closer, his shadow enveloping Bob like a heavy blanket. "They'll try to eliminate anything that stands in the way of their plans. And you, Bob Peterson, are now on their list." Bob couldn't help but laugh, though his voice carried a hint of hysteria. "This is just great. First, I'm a farmer, then I become an Earth ambassador, and now I'm a target for some galactic villains? Perfect, just perfect. This is no joke," the alien snapped. "If you want to survive, you'll have to follow my instructions." "Wait a second, who even are you?" Bob asked. "A friend, an enemy, or just another weird shaft-like zone?" The alien smirked briefly, but quickly regained his serious demeanor. "My name is Croft. I'm an operative from the Interstellar Resistance. We monitor the Shadow Council's activities and work to thwart their plans." "And why are you helping me?" Bob asked cautiously. "Because you, strangely enough, have become a key element in this conflict," Croft replied. "And if you die, Earth might be in serious danger." A sudden attack. Before Bob could ask another question, the air in the barn suddenly began to hum. Croft immediately raised his weapon. "They're here." "Who's they?" Bob shouted. A shimmering portal appeared in the center of the barn, and 3 humanoid figures emerged. They were tall, thin, and entirely cloaked in black robes. Their eyes glowed with an eerie red light. "Bob Peterson," one of them said in a menacing voice. "You know too much." "And you talk too much." Croft barked and fired his weapon. The energy blast struck one of the beings, and it vanished in a cloud of black smoke. But the other 2 lunged at Croft with incredible speed. "Run!" Croft shouted, fending off the attack. Without waiting for a second invitation, Bob bolted for the barn's exit. He jumped into his truck, still equipped with Zone's technology, and pressed the ignition button. The truck roared to life, its wheels lifting off the ground, and it shot into the air. "This is becoming a habit," Bob muttered, glancing down at his farm, where Croft was single-handedly battling the attackers. An unexpected ally. A strange button lit up on the truck's control panel. Bob didn't recall Zone mentioning it. "Well, why not?" he said to himself and pressed it. The truck suddenly turned sharply and dubbed back toward the fight. A bright beam of light shot out from under the hood, engulfing the 2 remaining attackers. They shrieked and dissolved into thin air. Croft looked up in surprise as the truck gently landed nearby. "You're getting good at piloting that thing," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Yeah, you could say I'm getting used to it," Bob replied. "But what now?" Croft gave him a serious look. "We're running out of time. The Shadow Council knows you're a threat. We need to find Zone. He's the only one who can help us." "Great," Bob sighed. "Off to find Zone. I just couldn't wait to dive into another round of insanity." The truck lifted off, and Bob and Croft headed toward the next stage of their mission. As the truck sped through the night sky, Bob tried to process everything that was happening. "So," he said, glancing at Croft, "the Shadow Council is hunting me because I talked to Zone, right?" "Not exactly," Croft replied, staring at the dashboard. "They're hunting you because you've become the symbol of the first alliance between Glurb and Earth. That threatens their plans." "And what are their plans?" Bob frowned. Croft sighed heavily. "They want to use Earth as a base for their operations. Your planet has a unique position in the galaxy, and your resources are perfect for their purposes. If they take control of Earth, they could start a war with other systems. All this for control?" Bob snorted. "Sounds like an intergalactic corporate takeover." "More or less," Croft agreed. "But the stakes are much higher here." Suddenly, the truck vibrated, and a red light lit up on the dashboard. "What now?" Bob asked, nervously tapping the buttons. Croft studied the screen closely. "We've been detected." "By who?" "Most likely Shadow Council drones. They won't let us reach Zone so easily." Bob glanced in the rearview mirror and saw 3 fast-moving objects with flashing red lights rapidly approaching. Of course. What's a getaway without a chase? The drones were quick and maneuverable. One of them began firing lasers, sending bright flashes of light exploding near the truck. "Croft, tell me we've got something to fight back with," Bob shouted, gripping the wheel tightly. "We do," Croft replied, pressing several buttons on the dashboard. "This is a modified vehicle, remember?" Small turrets emerged from under the truck, automatically targeting the drones. "Well, I'll be damned," Bob muttered. "This isn't just a truck. It's a spaceship." The turrets opened fire, taking down the first drone. But the other 2 continued their pursuit, becoming more aggressive. "We won't last long," Croft said. "We need to hide." "Where?" Bob yelled, swerving to dodge another shot. Croft quickly entered coordinates into the navigation system. "Head west. There's an old quarry. We can hide underground." Bob made a sharp turn, steering the truck toward the coordinates. The quarry loomed ahead, a massive dark pit in the ground. Bob switched on the truck's spotlights and descended into the depths. "They'll find us," Bob said grimly. "That's why I have a plan," Croft replied cryptically, pulling out a small device. When the truck landed at the bottom of the quarry, Croft jumped out and attached the device to a nearby rock wall. "What are you doing?" Bob asked, leaning out of the cab. "This is a temporal disorientation field. It'll mask our location." As soon as the field activated, the approaching drones began circling aimlessly, as if they'd lost their target. A minute later, they flew away. "Well, that was impressive," Bob admitted, stepping out of the truck. "But what now?" Croft gazed up at the night sky. "Now we need to find Zone. If he's still on Earth, he should be near one of his communication beacons." "And where are those?" Croft pulled out a map glowing faintly with blue light. "One of them is nearby." "Great," Bob muttered. "A few more adventures, and I'll be going gray for sure." Half an hour later, they arrived at an old, abandoned warehouse. "This the place?" Bob asked, eyeing the gloomy building. "Yes," Croft replied. "The beacon should be inside." They entered cautiously, lighting their way with flashlights. Soon, they found a device emitting a faint, pulsing light. "This is Zone's beacon," Croft said. "He's definitely been here." But before they could do anything, a loud noise echoed, and from the shadows stepped Zone. "Bob!" Zone exclaimed, spreading his arms wide. "You made it. You could have warned me that some galactic mafia was hunting me," Bob said irritably. Zone shrugged sheepishly. "Well, I figured you'd manage." "Seriously?" Croft interrupted them. "We need to leave." The Shadow Council knows about us. Zone nodded. Alright, I have a plan. But you'll have to trust me to pull it off. Bob rolled his eyes. Of course. What could possibly go wrong? And you'll find out what happens next in part 3.